Hello everyone and welcome to the January 2026 subscription tasting video. Yes, it's 2026. Happy New Year. I'm tasting the 3 coffees we're sending out on the first Wednesday of, actually it's going to be not the second week of January because of holidays and stuff. But we're sending out the coffees to all our subscribers around the world. Yeah, we do ship with DHL around the world and also with Posten in Norway, of course. And you can subscribe from 1 to 6 bags. You can change, pause, or stop the subscription at any time. If you subscribe to 1 bag, you get the first coffee. If you subscribe to 3 bags, you get the 3 different coffees. If you subscribe to 6 bags, you get 2 of each bag. So that's how it works. Cool. It's been a good year, I think, last year. And when I say that, that means it's been a good year for buying coffee. And today we're tasting 3 very, very nice coffees. They're all the same cultivar, more or less, and but they're grown in different places. And they're probably some of the more intense coffees we have bought last year, which is a good thing for me. It's a cultivar that is maybe, I wouldn't say controversial, but there are some people who don't really care for it and other people who just can't get enough of it. And it's a pretty tricky cultivar to grow because it's susceptible to a lot of diseases like leaf rust and everything. And there are also many different types of this cultivar. So the cultivar I'm talking about is Pacamara. And we're also going to taste a Maracaturra, the first time we have a Maracaturra here actually. The Pacamara cultivar is kind of famous for its big beans. It's a crossing between Pacas and Maragogipe. Maragogipe is a cultivar from, I think, Brazil that has like big leaves, big beans, everything is big. They crossed that with Pacas, which is a dwarf mutation that produces a lot, has very good quality. And then the kids were Pacamara cultivar. This is developed in El Salvador. And of course, the cultivars have been spread around Central America and South America. And also maybe it was released a little too early, or maybe they have different versions of it. I'm not sure which one is correct there, but there is for sure different types of Pacamaras around. And that means you have some that taste really good and some that doesn't taste that great. And also, to make it even more complicated, it doesn't like to grow everywhere. So we have tasted coffees from the same farm, same cultivar, Pacamara, grown in different altitudes, and the lower ones actually taste better than the higher ones. So sometimes these things also happen. It's not always like the highest altitude is the best. So Pacamara is a kind of a tricky cultivar, but when you get it right, it tastes really, really good, I think. And it can offer you some really nice like tropical fruit flavors. I normally just call it Pacamara flavor because it's hard for me to describe. It's not a fruit that is in my vocabulary or in my kind of upgrowing. So I'm pretty sure there are some people who say, oh, it tastes just like this. But for me, it's more like a tropical fruit kind of thing. And then, of course, when you grow it in different places, they develop different kind of nuances on those kind of fruit flavors. Some are more chocolatey, some are more acidic, some are more like balanced. So I think it's a nice exercise to taste the same cultivar from grown in different places. I say the same because one of them is Maracaturra, which is Maragogipe crossed with Caturra. Caturra is also a dwarf mutation of Bourbon, similar to the Pacas. That is also a dwarf mutation of Bourbon. So genetically, they're quite similar, I have to say. But the flavor is very different. Similar, but also very different. Cool. So normally it works like this. I choose the coffees from our warehouse once a month, and I send it out to all our subscribers. I'm telling you this because we normally get a lot of new subscribers during January. So I select the coffees, we send out the first Wednesday of the month, and I try to make it slightly educational, but sometimes I also just want to share some really great coffees that we bought specifically for the subscription. And the Maracaturra we're going to taste today is kind of bought with the intention of sending it out as a subscription coffee because the lot was quite small. So we prioritize the subscription, and then whatever is left over we can sell in our web shop and in our espresso bar. But a lot of times we end up buying like small, delicious lots for the coffee subscription because we know the amount we need, and also we just want to share our best coffees with the people who are our most loyal customers, which is our subscribers. let's get on with the tasting. So I prepared this as a cupping, and if you don't know how to do that, we have a YouTube tutorial. So if you're already watching this video, you're probably already on YouTube. It's pretty simple. I have 11 grams in this cup. I have 180 grams of water. You don't really have to measure it out as long as you know kind of the measurements. And it's good to compare coffees side by side. Makes it a little bit easier to taste the coffee and describe the coffee. It doesn't have to be all my coffee or our coffees. You can also put any other coffee on the table, whether it's a dark roast or a light roast or a commercial coffee or a really great coffee, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have something to compare it with, it makes it a lot easier to describe flavor and train yourself to kind of put words on what you're tasting. And everyone and anyone can do this. Okay, so the first coffee we're sending out, coffee that a lot of you have tasted before. It's a Pacamara from Los Pirineos in El Salvador. Last year we bought many different lots of Pacamara. This is a washed lot. From Los Pirineos we also buy some honey processed coffees because they don't have water on the farm, so they have to collect water in a big basin and use that for processing. But this is a washed coffee in its traditional way. It's depulped, fermented, I think maybe for 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer. And then it's washed and then dried on raised beds under shade. And the coffee is then packed in Grain Pro and all these kind of things we do and have developed together with Diego and his father Gilberto, who passed away a few years ago. But we have developed over the years a protocol for them to kind of follow to process the coffee the way we like so that the shelf life is really good. So this, although this is harvested almost a year ago, it still tastes really fresh and nice. And the coffees from Los Pirineos, they always have this kind of chocolatey kind of coating flavor. I recorded a podcast with a legend in coffee called George Howell, kind of a role model for me in coffee. He described they have a new concept of their labels where the color of the label dictates how much coffee you taste, because some coffees just taste like coffee, so the label then would be completely brown. Other coffees like Kenya taste a lot like blackcurrant and stuff, so the label would be mainly pink with a little brown color, because there's always coffee flavor there, and the brown color represents the coffee flavor. The pink label then would represent the berry flavors, for instance. And I think the Los Pirineos Pacamara, even though it has a lot of fruit flavor, the label would at least be 60% brown, because it has this kind of milk chocolatey kind of base flavor that for me at least is very, very delicious and very sweet. And I think a lot of people like and enjoy. And then you have this kind of more subtle fruit flavor on top of that. This is a very clean Pacamara from Los Pirineos. Actually has higher acidity than a lot of the coffees that come from this farm. The farm doesn't have the highest altitude. I think it's, well, Diego says 1,500 meters, but that's if you're standing on top of the radio tower on top of the farm. I've measured like 1,450, I think, on top of the farm. So it's a little bit lower altitude, and when you have that in a very hot climate, the coffees tend to get more kind of chocolatey and sometimes a little bit nutty. I don't get a lot of nut flavor in this, but definitely milk chocolate and some subtle, nice tropical fruit flavors. Nice acidity, almost a little bit winey, which can indicate that the fermentation was not just like 12 hours, but maybe 24 hours. Very refreshing finish, well structured. Yeah, really nice Pacamara coffee. Diego has won many awards, and his father as well when he was alive. They won many awards in the Cup of Excellence for these coffees. And for me, it's one of the better Pacamaras you can find because it's so typical for that kind of region and this kind of cultivar. Cool. Okay, let's taste the next one. So whenever I go to Central America, I normally fly to El Salvador. I visit Diego's farm, spend a couple of days there. Then someone from his farm will drive me to San Miguel in El Salvador. And then Marisabel and Moises will pick me up there. and drive me to Marcala, which is where their farms are, near Marcala. And I'm talking about the El Puente farms. And Marcel and Moises, very famous producers and also very good friends of ours, are producing a really nice Pacamara. And last year we bought, I think, 4 different lots from them of Pacamara. They were all like really intense, really fruit forward, and yeah, super nice Pacamaras. Let's taste this. Oh yeah. So I would say this has more Pacamara flavor, like you turn the volume button up. Maybe it was at 4 on the Los Pirineos. Here it's maybe at 6, 7. Really nice. It's more acidic for sure. Less of that kind of milk chocolatey flavor. Very intense Pacamara. Super clean. Very, very clean, and also very, very sweet. I feel like last year it's almost like Moises had put sugar in his coffee, because all the coffees we bought from them last year has this kind of, you know, when you drink tea and you put a little bit of sugar in, you get this kind of mouth coating sensation that is not just sweet but also a little kind of textured. I feel like their coffees this year, or from last year, has been like this. Wow, yeah. So Pacamara from El Puente in Marcala. You can also watch a video on YouTube from all these farms, except the last one, where you can get an impression on how they grow the coffee, how they process the coffee and everything. So Los Pirineos is the first one in El Salvador, El Puente the second one from Honduras. I love Pacamara, it's great. Okay, let's talk about the third coffee. It's a coffee we've never offered before. We've actually had a Maracaturra many, many years ago from Guatemala, but this is a Maracaturra from Honduras. It's not from Hobnil this time. It's from his neighbor, Angel Arturo Paz. I call him Angel, everyone calls him Arturo. He's actually one of the first people that I met in Honduras, who took me to visit Hobnil's farm. And he's working for San Vicente, which is the exporter that Hobnil delivers coffees to. And over the years, Angel has also kind of wanted to grow his own coffee. So many years ago, he bought a coffee farm, and I think he has a couple now, where he grows his own coffee, because he also has to work at the dry mill, and as an export company, they also work with a lot of farmers. So he's taking customers around, he does quality control. They do a lot there, so he can rarely have time to go to his farms and kind of take care of his coffee. But he's very kind of forward thinking. We very much align when it comes to organic practices and biological farming techniques and so on. He's very curious about these things and has been trying different things on his farm to try to eliminate the amount of fertilizer and sprays you have to use. And he really works on the quality of the soil, you know, adding compost, and takes care of the coffee trees really well. And a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018 or 19, Hobnil and Arturo, they got together and they bought some land in an area called El Sauce, where they're growing Geisha, Maracaturra, SL28, and a couple of different cultivars. So Arturo bought the land next to Hobnil, and that's, I think, where this Maracaturra is from, which tastes phenomenal. Let's taste. Wow. So volume buttons at 10 here. It's so intense, really, really intense. Super floral, very floral, like when you eat coffee flowers, you get this kind of green floral flavor. It's also very kind of ripe, almost red berries with tropical fruits. Super intense coffee. Also quite an intense acidity, but I feel like the acidity in the El Puente is maybe a little bit kind of higher or more slim, and this is more like from ripe fruit, like ripe mango and stuff like that. Wow, very intense coffees. Let's go back and taste the El Puente now. Much lighter and more elegant, I would say. This is like a punch in the face with a lot of flavor. This is more elegant, still a lot of flavor. And then the Los Pirineos. Very much like that chocolatey with that fruit flavor. Super nice coffees, and more or less all of them are Pacamaras, except this is Maracaturra, but I mean genetically they're quite similar. They're all big beans and everything. Very interesting coffees, I think, to taste side by side. And also something that is not so common to get these days, because everyone is focusing on African coffees and geishas and pink bourbon, and Pacamaras. Maybe it's out of fashion, I don't know, but for me at least it's a really, really nice cultivar when they taste this good. Cool, so those are the 3 coffees we're sending out in January. Next month I've selected something different, and I'm trying to really select something both educational and delicious for you all, so you can follow. So in the meanwhile, while you're tasting these coffees, you should check out the video from Los Pirineos and Finca el Puente that our cameraman has been filming, and they're fantastic videos, I think. He's done a great job, and also fantastic people who are growing these coffees. So please enjoy the coffees, and hope to see you next time.